Bournemouth defied the odds last season and finished 15th against what everyone was saying and managed to stay in the Premier League. As well as this last season, they got taken over by Bill Foley, a very rich American man, and have also recently sacked Gary O'Neill. So I thought this would make for the perfect rebuild in a Football Manager. Okay, just before we get into this rebuild, and I'm recording this after I finished it, think it's a pretty good one. Can I ask one thing of you? If you enjoy this video, please subscribe. We're nearly, I say nearly, we're 3/4 of the way to 1,000, and only so many people subscribe who watch the videos. Anyway, here's the first summer's transfers, and I have just done my first summer signings, so I'll just take you through them. First of all, as an in, I did Alex Scott, linked to them in real life. Really promising young player in the Championship, won EFL Young Player of the Year. Really promising player. Next, I went for quite a punchy one, Kyle Walker-Peters. Teetering on the edge of unrealistic. You'd imagine there'd be a better Premier League suitor, but he's available for a reasonable fee in real life. I think it's not absurd. Maybe he really likes living on the south coast or something. Next was the signing of Matthias Viña, another one linked in real life. Just makes sense, was on loan with the club back half of last season. Bournemouth in real life are currently negotiating a fee to see if they can make that a possibility. Just made a lot of sense. Next up, Santi Comesana. No idea if I'm saying that last name correctly. The reason I've brought him in is Iriola, Bournemouth's new manager in real life. He played for him at Real Vallecano, and he's available on a free this summer. Made sense. I did see he was linked to Villarreal earlier in the year. Nothing seems to have happened there from my understanding. So I've brought him just into Bournemouth on a free transfer. And the only other signing here is Hamid Traore, but that is an obligation with the loan that Bournemouth made in January. In terms of outs, I don't think I'm quite finished, but I've got quite a few of them done. I've got rid of Jamal Lowe, Ben Pearson, Gav Kilkenny, and Kiefer Moore. For next season in the pre-season odds, still only 16th, even with the signings I've made. Also, Coventry are here because I'd already finished my transfers when I realised in this simulation they'd won the playoff final. Just ignore that, it's fine, it literally doesn't matter. According to the pre-season prediction, our two best players are Neto and Kyle Walker-Peters. So one of my new signings, and arguably Bournemouth's Player of the Year last year. In terms of how my team's going to play for this season, it's going to be this 4-2-3-1. Oh, also, I didn't actually mention, Justin Kluivert was confirmed in real life, so I made a database change to have him in instantly. So yeah, this is, I think, what my first 11 is going to look like going into the next season, and we'll go to the end of it and see how I've done. Okay, so I've got to the end of this season, and I've actually managed to get 4th. If you look at the past league positions, we've held pretty steady at 4th, and going through the team, the best performers were all in those attacking areas. Brooks, Traore, Solanke, the best 3 players. Viña is well up there, and Justin Kluivert as well, having a very good season. In the other 2 cup competitions, knocked out in both by Man United, we actually got to the semi-final of the FA Cup, but if I show you here, we were beaten 5-1 on the day, so not particularly close. There's also a few outgoings, I never showed you, those being Marcondes in the summer window, James Hill out on loan for the season in the summer window, Dembele out on loan in the summer window as well, but with an obligation to buy at 700 grand. Mark Travers left in the January because he was upset he couldn't play. And Marcus Tavernier also left in the January because of game time. Unfortunately, unlike real life, where he's one of our best players, in game he's just not very good. The budget they've given me for next season is 50 million, and the plan is just to add to the squad the best we can. Objective for next season, probably just get European football again. Going to be the first year in the Champions League, extra 9 group games at least, probably at least another 2 knockouts. So I think the additional games to the schedule, just try make just another top 7 finish. Anyway, I'm going to see what additions I can make in this summer window. Alright, so the summer transfer window is over. I come to you with slightly moist hair as I've just got out of the shower. But in terms of incomings, there was only a few to really speak of. So my first 2 transfers were Lavia and Nonto. They would only come in under the condition that they got like a decent release clause. So Nonto's release clause 57 million and Lavia's release clause is 78 million. I feel like that makes sense, like compared to the real world. If Bournemouth were to get Champions League football and offered release clauses in these players' contracts, I feel like maybe they could attract them, especially after a year of playing in the Championship and not getting that move last year. Now, our other 2 signings were just 2 free transfers. Dan Burn on a free, it seems Newcastle have moved on from him. And the new Tottenham keeper, going to struggle with this one, Glumilimo Visako. Visaccio. I really don't know. Apparently, a very impressive shot stopper at Empoli, I know. Ranked, I think, did he rank first in the league for save percentage, or like just behind Merriett or something? It was right up there for save percentage last year. Like, in real life, this is. His start to his Bournemouth career hasn't been brilliant. Played 5, conceded 10, averaged 6.58. Hopefully that gets better. We still have Neto at the club, who's like 34, 35 now. Worst comes to worst, we'll just put him back in the team. Then for outgoings, we had Siriki Dembele out for just under $1 million. That was already spoke about, I think, before, because it was a loan with an obligation to buy. Ryan Frederick's contract expired, so we went on a free to Ipswich. Philip Billing only got 3.8 million. He's just not very good on the game, especially compared to the heights he hit in real life last season. And then Anthony Semedo, just one who can't really contribute at the Premier League level. That probably looks our best team, looking something like this. You'll notice no Willy Gnonto. He actually, at Leeds last year, didn't play that much football. I don't know if it was an injury or what, but he just barely played any football, so I think that might have stunted his development a bit. So for us, all he's really done so far is come off the bench and try to impact games with his pace. But I mean, if you look at the attributes, as long as he does develop a bit from where he is now, I think we'll be fine. Oh, also, another transfer, Tavernier has a transfer arranged for January. Annoyingly, he rejected like 5 contracts in the summer window for slightly better bids. I think at one point we had over 10 million bid for him, just straight up. I think that's from Sheffield United. But he just said no to everyone. And then deadline passes, he'll go to Austria for 6 million. It's whatever. Also, just before I continue to the end of the season, can I show you Dan Burn's prolific goal scoring? Obviously, he is massive, so we do aim at him on corners. But 3 from 5, absolutely brilliant. I'm loving me a bit of Dan Burn. Anyway, now I will go to the end of the season and show you how we do this year. Okay, so I come to you actually the day after I last recorded. Wet hair again, just got out of the shower like last time. But I can show you that Bournemouth came 5th, which currently says Europa League. But I know with the new Champions League format, which is in right now, that 5th can go to the league. And I think in England, 5th normally goes to the league. So if it does go to the league, I'll update you on that. But other big thing, competitions. FA Cup, we won that. So that's our first bit of silverware. We beat Newcastle, who came 9th in the league. It's not actually Eddie Howe's Newcastle, which I mean, maybe would have been a nice return. It was Antonio Conte. You know, listen, all I'm saying is I've done well there. Serial trophy winner Antonio Conte. I've had the best of him. In terms of our best players this year, just off average rating, David Brooks was phenomenal. Look at these stats. 29 assists. Honestly, he was immense. Dominic Solanke got 40 goals and 38 starts. Dango was good, but not as good as the 2 above him. Ryan Christie was very decent. Someone who was surprising, Dan Burn, played 50 starts, which way over already what I thought he'd do. 16 goals. This guy on corners, a menace. Anyway, I'm going to continue forward a few times to see, 1, if I've got Champions League football, 2, to see what the budgets are, and 3, I didn't actually have 3 things. I probably shouldn't have done the 1-2 things. Anyway, I'll continue forward. Okay, I come to you bearing news. First of all, we do get Champions League football. Brilliant. Means we can actually try and win it next year. Because I feel like we go to competitions here, like outside of Tottenham, who I don't think will maintain this, because I think they just had a freak season. We were very good. And if we look at the data hub, we're only 6 expected points behind Tottenham. So I think that is a closable gap. Especially when you see the budgets we got, which if I come to scouting, 62 million. And then finally, if I put this in here, there are officially new stadium plans. 25,000 capacity. It's going to cost us just under 40 million. We've covered 20 million of that in a sponsorship, and it's going to be called Eddie Howe Park. Let's just say they've built this at Kings Park, and we've renamed Kings Park to Eddie Howe Park. I don't quite know where I'm going here, but basically, we're building a new stadium. Whether we see this in the rebuild or not, I don't know. Because I don't have like an official end date. I just want to end when Bournemouth are like a big team who win big trophies. And no, I've not quite counted the FA Cup as a big team winning big trophies. I want that league title. I want the Champions League. I want one of those 2 things. Maybe both. Okay, so I have just finished the summer transfers. Something I don't think I actually showed you is how we did in the Champions League last season. Obviously, Bournemouth's first ever year in it. So in the league stage, we got 14th, enough to qualify. In the knockout phase, we beat Roma 2-0 on aggregate. Round of 16, we actually did Barcelona 1-0, but in the quarterfinals, it was a 3-2 loss on aggregate to Liverpool after winning the first leg. And it was quite annoying because if we go to this semi-final, we would have got Porto, which I feel like was very winnable. But obviously, I think you knew because I didn't mention it, it was on screen at some point. Champions League, we didn't win. Something we may have won though, the summer transfer window. First of all, in January, I don't think I mentioned these, we got rid of Rothwell for $1 million. His contract was up in the summer. He wasn't registered for the Champions League, just wanted to get rid of him. Got 23 million for Vinya. I wasn't really looking to sell him, but I'd replaced him with Kelly and Dan Burn because we're going for like a more defensive left back. And then I got $1 million for Jadon Anthony. Really thought I could have got more, but it's literally the only bids I was getting. Then our first signing of the transfer window. I think anyone who's played enough FM knows about this guy, Rooney Bargi, under 10 million. He's excellent. He's already started like a house on fire. 4 games, 2 goals, 2 assists. 19 years old. Just a brilliant signing. Then looking at our other incomings, we didn't actually spend big on anyone. Our biggest signing was Rami Benenciani. Sorry, I can't say that name. We got Rami. I'll just blame my dyslexia or something. 20 million. He showed up as a 4-star player on the scout report. Probably should have got that redone. But he can kind of play the Lloyd Kelly role of a more defensive left back who can also cover at centre back. Listen, I'm not annoyed about having him. I like having big fullbacks. I think at 30, 20 million, it's a bit of an overpay. Next signing, Richarlison. This was for only 19 million. See here, 2 assists in his first 3 games. And I just think, he can cover all of the front 3. If you look at his attributes, he's still quite good. Star rating, he's one of our better players. Still only 28, so we got a good few years out of him. I'm very happy with this. Brazil's number 9 at Bournemouth. Next up, a player Bournemouth have actually inquired into in real life in the January window. Bournemouth did want to sign Weston McKennie, but it seems like there wasn't ever much interest from the player. Leeds ended up getting him. But a few years on, I've come in and I've signed him. He's just a proper box-to-box player, can do a bit of everything. Really good physicals, especially with that stamina. That realistic thing that we're going with, kind of, some of these are a bit questionable whether they're realistic at this stage. That, they actually wanted him. That's somewhat realistic. Next up, someone who had a very poor loan spell with Chelsea, it's Saul Niguez is his full name. Again, just like Weston McKennie, a midfielder who can do it all. A tad more technically gifted, I think, than Weston McKennie. But he was only 6 million quid. I think for 6 million, it's just a no-brainer. Next up, we let Neto go on a free, so I brought in Mark Rodak. He's homegrown because he was at Fulham in his youth career, been at Fulham his whole career, but for 400 grand, fairly decent backup keeper. I looked to see if there were any really good keepers with expiring contracts, but there weren't, so we settled for Rodak. Then on a free, I got Ben Davies. I'll level with you. Really makes Rami look bad at 20 million because they're just the same player, at least in game. Finally, we got the Sasha boy. Technically on loan from Liverpool, coming as a right back. Probably a Kyle Walker replacement, or Kyle Walker-Peters even. If we look at the breakdown of the loan, after 30 matches, we paid 23 million. So this could actually be our most expensive signing. I don't know if that counts all competitions, or if that's league games or what. If that's all competitions, he easily passes that and we buy him. Which, I mean, I wouldn't be angry at. I think he is better than Kyle Walker-Peters. Partly just because he's that bit bigger. Then for the outgoings, Neto on a free to Tottenham. Tottenham, who, I know I mentioned this already, won the league last year, and Neto has actually gone in there, and, oh no, okay, I thought he was first choice keeper, because we played them in the Community Shield, and he played. No, he is cup keeper, and that is a cup, okay. Marcos Senesi, you've seen, we brought in, Ben Davies and Rami. We don't need another left-sided centre-back. And then our final sale, James Hill to Brentford. A bit annoyed we only got, what was it? 4.5 million. We loaned him out last January to the Bundesliga at Freiburg. So not a crazy transfer window, but if we look at our best 11 now, looking at something like this. Obviously, there's a few things you could argue. I think Sasha Boy, although he literally came in on deadline day and we're a day past that, I might have as my right back. Midfield 2, I think this is what I'm going to go with. Maybe Lavia at the holding mid, and then, where is he? Weston McKennie at box to box. And then maybe I'd prefer Dominic Solanke. We've been giving Willy Gnonto more games, like, steadily. If you look here, first season, he played 36, but he played a lot off the bench. But towards the end, he was starting a lot of games. So maybe it's Willy Gnonto. I don't know. I think the two of them seem to perform whenever either one plays. So this is about what a team's going to look like at best. Obviously, Champions League, we're playing Saturday, Wednesday. So I think everyone's going to get game time. And if they don't, they're going to kick off and leave in January. Liverpool look like the team to catch early doors. Tottenham are 17th, so I don't think they're going to retain their title. It would be funny if Ben Davies and Richarlison brought the title with them. So I'm going to try and make that happen and continue to the end of the season. I come to you at the end of the season, a very happy man. I'm sure you can see the email on the screen. If I take you to competition, Bournemouth are champions of England. And listen, we were really crap at the back half of this season. If I go to schedule and I just filter it to Premier League for you, look, pretty much, I'd say just from the new year, look how many points we're dropping, especially when you compare it to beforehand, where we pick up. I think I'm on like over a 90-point pace this first half of the season. We finish on 78. Right, look at this. I was shitting myself. We lost the last game of the season, and it's not like we'd won the title at this stage. Willy Gnonto missed a penalty. But if we come over to competitions, what's it? Is there a way to go back a match week? I don't know if there is. But if we just look at the results here, all that happened is Liverpool lost and Man City won. But Man City had already... We had beat Man City at this point. But Liverpool lost on the last day of the season to give us the title. Going through the big players in this Premier League campaign. Premier League Player of the Year on average rating, Dan Burn. Now, he didn't actually play that many Premier League games, but 16 starts, 8 goals for Dan Burn. This boy is a machine on corners. And Dominic Solanke is really good the first half of the season. You see only 19 starts. The issue we had is he picked up an injury around January, and we got to the point where his match sharpness was good, but he just wasn't scoring, so he preferred Willy Gnonto the last half of the season. Then, oh my God, Rooney Bargi is probably the reason we've won the title this year. Damaged foot right now, but 34 starts, 11 assists, 11 goals even, 22 assists. He was brilliant. Honestly, just superb. Like, David Brooks and Ryan Christie were both massive players the last 2 years. Basically didn't get a sniff. If we come look at the other competitions, unfortunately, we didn't really do anything. 2 semi-finals and the 2 domestic cups, knocked out by good Chelsea and Man United sides. And then in the Champions League, it was PSG. What are you going to do? I think actually, yeah, PSG have made it to the final. This is probably what was like my best look team. Like, if I could pick it to any team, it'd probably be this, maybe Solanke. But that is going to be the end of this rebuild. Very successful one. As you can see, this tactic has done wonders for me. I might make a video on it. It's one that originally I used at Weymouth, although it is fairly tweaked since then. I might make a video on it because it is brilliant. I think it's the best tactic I've used all year. But that's the end of the rebuild. Very successful. Thank you for watching.